guys, how's it going? So today I'm going to be working with some succulents. It's been quite a long time since I've done this, so I'm really looking forward to it. In fact, this was the very last arrangement that I put together with succulents. It's been about 4 months ago. I thought you guys might like to see an update on how it's doing, and it's kind of a testament to how succulents do when you pack them in really close. And I get asked that question a lot, like, how are those succulents going to grow, or they're going to outgrow their container so fast that you're going to have to be pulling plants out right and left? If you plant them close like this, they just tend to not put on as much growth as fast. And you can just see that they've all done really, really well. This one has been outside since I planted it, and it went through a hailstorm. So there's a little tiny bit of hail damage, and it's been in quite a lot of sun too. It just recently turned hot, so I do need to find a spot that gets a little bit more protection in the afternoon. But because it was in that sun in the springtime, which isn't as intense as it is now, the aloe colored up beautifully. The kalanchoe is blooming for the second time, but I am noticing a tiny bit of burn on the end of the kalanchoe leaves, so I will move this to a more protected spot. But everything's doing great. I'm super happy with it. Today though, I want to specifically show you how I create height in a succulent arrangement, because I get asked that question quite a lot when I use a low bowl like this. Sometimes I'll have a plant in the center that's a pretty short plant like this one, but it'll appear way higher than the edge of the rim of the bowl. So I just thought I would show you how I build something like that, and how I water it and take care of it. So first off, I have this low bowl right here that's from MPG Planters. They actually contacted me a while ago, and I told them that they need to make more low bowls for succulents because I have a hard time finding them. So like a year and a half later, they sent me this bowl. This is actually a set of 3. This is the smallest of the 3. So I was really excited about this. It has a very traditional look to it, which I like. And I can't remember what the name of it is, but we will link it down below. Now, the one thing about this is it does not have a drainage hole. So I'm going to create one because that's very important, especially if you're a beginner with succulents. You must have a drainage hole because they like to not have water around their roots for very long. So what I'm going to do, you can see on the bottom, it already kind of has a spot started. That's where I'm going to put my hole. I've got a drill with a diamond tile drill bit. You could probably use a regular drill bit since this is pretty porous, and I don't think it's like a very hard material, but to be on the safe side, diamond tile does a really good job. So I'm just going to put a hole in this real quick. My word, got it done. So for this size of container, 1 drainage hole is plenty. If you have a really big one, like for the biggest size bowl that comes in this set, I would probably put 3 drainage holes in it just to be safe. And now I'm going to grab my soil here. Let me set the drill down. And I'm using Espoma cactus mix for this arrangement, which I use with all of my cactus and succulent arrangements. That's what I used in this one. Thank you. So I like to start off with quite a bit of soil because we are going to create a mound in the end anyway. We can add or subtract soil as we go as well. I think why it seems hard to create height in your succulent arrangement is because when you take a succulent out of its container, like this one right here, the roots are pointed down. So most of us, especially those of you who are maybe, dabbling in succulents for the first time, it makes you think that that's how you need to plant it, with the roots facing down like that. But that's not necessarily the case. Succulents are so incredibly forgiving. As long as they have a little bit of soil or a little bit of sphagnum moss around their roots, they are just great. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove some of this soil from around. This is a sempervivum called Sempervivum calcareum. We're going to remove some of the soil, and then this is a term that when I was very first starting to learn about how to put succulents together, I was watching one of Deborah Lee Baldwin's videos, and she works with succulents a lot, but she was creating an arrangement kind of like this, and she said that she likes to tip her succulents and rest their chins on the side of the container, and that's how she kind of builds up her arrangement. So the next chin of the next succulent will be resting on the other one, and that kind of stuck with me. So that's kind of what we're going to do, and we're going to start building from the lower level all the way up to the top of the mound. I don't really like how this one's setting though. This one has a whole bunch of babies around the outside. I'm going to remove some of these real quick. I think it'll make it rest better on the side. And a lot, I think, of succulent arranging is just kind of trying it, maybe tearing it apart a couple of times, trying it again until you get it to look the way you want it to look. And there's nothing wrong doing that. Sometimes I'll have put together an arrangement And like a week later, I'll tear the whole thing apart because I don't really love how it turned out. But see how I'm resting the succulent right on the side and I'm pointing it outward? That's what gives you the really pretty interest. And like if you had this in like a table centerpiece sort of setting, whoever's sitting, you know, on either side of this will have a lot of beautiful things to look at, as opposed to if it was like this. Way not as interesting because you can't really see the detail. Okay, so this one right here is a crassula, and I think I'm just going to place a couple more succulents so you can kind of see them go together, and then we'll time lapse the rest because it kind of, you know, you build the same way all the way around. So see how you can kind of squeeze them together like this? That's how I created this one right here. You can create a very close-knit relationship between your succulents and they will just do great. And like that, I really like that color on that one. Okay, then I think we'll do this as an Echeveria Neon Breakers. And I always like to go through as well and pick off any damaged or dead looking leaves, because how succulents grow is usually from the center. And then the lower leaves or the older leaves will start to dry up and you can pull those off. That's totally normal of succulents. There we go. So I'm going to do my whole first ring, and then when I get ready to place my next set of succulents, we'll stop and I'll show you. Okay, so I've got pretty much my first ring of succulents in, and you can already see the mound kind of start to take shape. And the way I think you can do that really easily is when you get succulents, oh, I have it right here, like this right here that have a lot of babies, you can take the babies off and tuck them around in little cracks and little openings that you may have, and it makes them very easy to maneuver. So now I'm going to start kind of my second ring, and I've got a nice big kind of gap right here that I'm going to use this Echeveria to fill. So I'm going to take the babies off first, and then I'll clean it up and remove some of the soil. Then we'll place it. All right, so now since I have removed most of the soil and I'm not left with anything really firm, I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit more of my potting mix here, my cactus mix, and build up just a little bit more of a mound. Oh, I think that's perfect right there. And then I just pack soil in around the roots until I like the placement. And see how they just rest on one another like that? It's perfect. Now, so for my next one here, I have a sedum with a nice little root ball. So I'll create a little hole, and this one's got a little height too, so it kind of helps me out a bit. And this type of succulent really fills in gaps nicely. And then I'll take a little more potting soil. Let me turn it around so you can see the root ball. So see the root ball kind of sitting up like that? I'm going to take a little bit more potting soil and just pack it in around that root ball so we're not left with much air. So that's what I'm going to continue doing basically until I'm done with the arrangement. I imagine I will get one small ring of succulents here, and then I'll be left with one hole in the center that I'll pop, you know, something with maybe a little height and color in. So I think it may actually be helpful to see a succulent go in from this angle right here. Let me find one that I like for this area. Yeah, put this little agave in there. So this one has some really nice height, so I'm actually creating a little bit of a well for its roots here. We'll see how it fits. And then we backfill that hole a little bit. And let me turn it around and show you. Look how perfect that is. Fits that section beautifully. So I think that this is a Sun Sparkler sedum right here. It's got some beautiful color. So I'm trying to decide if I add 2 more small agave or if I add a little bit of color into the center. I think I'm gonna do this, and I might be able to fit 1 more agave in there. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Let me turn it around so you can see what it's shaping up to look like up there. Isn't that so pretty? The colors of all of these are just beautiful. And I think I can fit an agave right in back here. Turn it back around. This is where it gets a little dicey. Got to take it a little slower so that I don't get all the rest of the succulents dirty. And now clearly none of these succulents are meant to stay this small forever, but when you plant them in close quarters, like I said, it just slows their growth rate down so dramatically that I can tend to usually get about a year out of an arrangement like this before I need to take it apart and do a little bit of repotting. I might have to do some normal grooming, routine maintenance grooming, and maybe pop a sedum out here or there, but nothing major for about a year, which is pretty amazing. Okay, we got room for 1 more. I think another sedum. A little bit of more purple. I think I'm just going to use a bunch of these little babies that I popped off earlier to fill in this last little gap, which means I'll use a little bit of soil to raise it up so that the roots make contact. And that's the most important part. You just want to make sure that all their root balls have as much soil around them as possible and that they are making contact with soil. That way they have something to root into. Like these little babies right here will definitely root as long as that stem is put into soil. Okay, I think it's done. So let me clean off the table and then I'm gonna run and grab my syringe so I can show you how to water this. Okay, so now that it's done, I did want to show you how to water it really quick, like how I find the best success and the easiest way to water. Especially with a mounded arrangement like this, you wouldn't want to come at it with a hose with high pressure or a watering can with high pressure because you know nothing's rooted in yet, and so there is loose soil inside this arrangement and it will want to run out until those plants have a chance to root in. So I find having just a large syringe, these are really inexpensive to buy and so handy to have for succulents, especially things like this. It's just nice because you can direct the water right where you want it to go and you can control the flow. So basically what I do is I just kind of shoot the water in toward the root balls of the plant slowly, and I just go all the way around the arrangement and do that. Of course, you know, once they root in, it gets a lot easier to water, and if you've got it outside, you can just water it overhead at that point. But for the first little bit, you want to treat them kind of ginger so that you don't have a mess on your hands. See how easy that is? And they need so little water that it's just a really easy arrangement to keep happy. So anyway, that's how you create a succulent arrangement with a little bit of height in the center. And of course you could plant traditionally and plant them all flat with the roots going straight down and just use some higher succulents in the center. But I think this creates a really unique look, and I love that the succulents are tipped and they're looking at you, especially for like a dinner kind of table centerpiece situation. You don't want anything too tall to where you can't see everybody at the table, but you still want something that's got interest all the way around. So anyway, I thought you guys might enjoy seeing this, and I hope that you're ready to see some more succulent arrangements, because I just went and kind of loaded up the car and went to town buying succulents because I was just in the mood for it. So anyway, we will see you in the next video. Bye.